Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me for a special episode of COVID-19 on Spanning the Need. Today, we'll be talking with Kevin Harris, a COVID-19 survivor, and his journey over the last 3 to 4 months. Kevin, thank you for joining me. It's really appreciative that you take the time out of your busy schedule.
No problem, my man.
And so just so we're aware, and people may not know this, is Kevin was one of the very first COVID cases confirmed in the state of Ohio and one of the very first in Eastern Ohio. And I think this is back in, and let's take a step there, Kev. We're talking March, correct? Give or take?
Yes.
Or so
Yes.
Kind of take us through those first couple days of through the beginning of how this happened. Do you know where you contracted it? Anything along those lines?
Okay. First of all, again, thanks for having me, Anthony. I appreciate it. One of the things that got me was that you don't know what it is until they tell you what it is. And I'll tell you, it happened so fast because I was doing great. And March 2nd, that night, about 8 o'clock, I had a little tickle in my throat. Nothing major, just kept clearing my throat. And I was telling my buddy, I said, man, I think I'm getting sick. And so I wasn't going to work that hard that night. Well, about 2 hours later, that tickle was a cough. And the cough was real dry and real hard, like all of a sudden. It wasn't, a matter of minutes. It was like my first cough was a dry, hard cough. And I told him, I said, I got to go home. I am getting sick. I need some rest. Figuring my body just needed to rest. So I go home, go to bed. I wake up about 7:30 the next morning, and I thought I had a severe case of the flu. So that's what it felt like initially. It was just a bad flu had taken over me in less than, 18 hours. And I go to the doctor that morning because I had a previous doctor's appointment for a checkup that they were doing. And I told her, I said, I'm sick as a dog. She just looked at me and said, you got the flu. I'm going to prescribe you some Tamiflu. Go home and rest for a few days. You'll feel all right in about 48 hours. Give it 5 or 6 days and you'll be a new man. So that's what I did. Unfortunately, that was the wrong thing to do. Being that later on we found out it was COVID and COVID pneumonia, the last thing you want to do is lay down. This thing makes you want to lay down and rest your body. But while you're resting, your lungs are filling up with fluid. And literally it's like a gel, like a plastic. And it turns your lungs to glass. And you can't take any consumption of air. So no matter when you try to take a breath, you can't get the air. Even though the air is going into your lungs, you're not feeling it. It's not hitting your body. So I'd say it took about 5 days for that to happen. And I was out of the Tamiflu. I had one pill left because it was like a 5-day prescription. I didn't take the last pill. I knew it wasn't working, and I was getting sicker and sicker. And then Sunday, the 8th, I was so sick I had to call someone to take me to the hospital because I had been just getting to the bathroom would take me an hour, literally. I lay down for about 10 minutes on the floor, crawl a couple steps, literally on the floor, all floors. And my bathroom was downstairs. So it was a problem. My bathroom up here in the bedroom, my bathroom up here on the second floor, it took me half an hour to get to that one. And that one doesn't have a shower. So every time I think I could make it and take a shower, it wasn't happening. I make it downstairs and have just enough energy to go to the bathroom, then I have to come back upstairs. It was a mess.
And that it sounds like it was really bad. And this is just the start of before, I think you said the beginning of March.
Oh yeah. Yeah. This was the beginning of my COVID journey, which we didn't think it would be a journey. I thought it'd be over by now. But just to kind of fast forward to today, I was with my son cutting down some trees. I cut down trees all the time. Man, just holding the chainsaw for 10 minutes had me down on a knee catching my breath. My son just posted a video of that this morning because he's laughing at me because normally I can just cut down a tree and keep on going. I still have the effects. Even though I still run on the elliptical every day, I haven't gotten my lungs back to where I can actually work hard.
So this COVID-19 that you were diagnosed with and confirmed,
yes,
you're still having repercussions of this disease in your system right now. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The headaches are like ice picks in the side of your head, and then feels like your brain is swollen in the front. Like I'm sure everybody's had a sinus headache. Well, imagine a sinus headache is up here on the top of your head. That's what it feels like. Along with that and memory loss. I mean, I can't say I ever had a really good memory, but I got a couple of degrees to say otherwise. But I'm going to tell you, Kevon tells me all the time, I think you be getting away with stuff because he's always telling me, Dad, that's not what you said. Or Dad, you never said nothing. But I get that from a lot of the guys too, where I thought about saying it and never said it. So when I asked them why didn't they do it, they said, because you never said it. So either I'm crazy or they're trying to make me crazy or COVID has made me crazy.
Yeah, I have a good memory on occasions, and then I don't have a good memory. I think that's all of us. My wife tells me that all the time, so I can agree with you on that. So, what happens? You get to the hospital, you get in an intensive care. So go from there. Tell us what really happened in the hospital, because not many people knew when the time you went to the time you got in the hospital.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what. Those 6 days before the hospital when I was really sick were horrible. And the pain, by the time I got to the hospital, the pain was unbearable. So I get to the hospital about 3 o'clock Sunday, the 8th, that afternoon. And by then, even my toenails, when I wiggle my toes underneath the blanket, just rubbing the blanket would hurt my toenails. I didn't know your toenails could hurt. Oh, yeah. Your skin hurt. The blankets laying on you hurt. And about this COVID thing, it makes you want to lay still. Nothing hurts when you lay still. Even if you breathe slowly, nothing hurts. So the weirdest thing in the world, you want the pain to go away, so you lay as still as possible and you breathe as little as possible and you got no pain. The minute you breathe heavy, the minute you move, even just roll over, twist your neck or yawn, something on your body hurts. Your joints, your muscles, every nerve ending is in excruciating pain. And the killer of this is, had you known it was COVID in the beginning, all you had to do was keep moving. It hurt a little bit, but you keep moving, it doesn't settle in your lungs. And your joints don't stiffen up, your muscles don't stiffen up. But most people don't know it's COVID, so they think it's the flu. They lay down for a couple of days, and then it got you. And once it gets you, you can't get away from it. It has to really run its course. Now it's in you, and moving hurts, moving around hurts, having people massage you hurts. I mean, the hospital tried everything. My nurses were tremendous. You know, the administration sucked. St. Joe's administration is garbage. But the nurses that are on the front line that took care of me were amazing. Those days when I was in the hospital and they realized that I wasn't going to go into cardiac arrest, because that's one of the things too. A lot of people have the respiratory failure and then immediate cardiac arrest. So when they're standing there with machines and ready to work on me because I'm about to go into cardiac arrest, it never happened. I have this underlying defect with my heart. My coronary artery runs between my pulmonary artery and my heart muscle. Makes my heart really dense because it's been like that for my whole life. Well, that kind of saved my behind because my heart is used to working hard. So it made it work real hard with those pulmonary issues, but the cardio issues, I never had any effects of it.
And I think I just put a picture up. This is you in the hospital. Okay. Yeah. Now, what day was this? Was this at the very beginning, or was this kind of halfway through where you, like, how many days did you stay in the hospital? Let's start with that point first.
I was in the hospital 13 days.
And what day, do you have any idea when this picture was taken? What day that was?
I would say that was probably on the 12th.
So This was towards the end of kind of coming out of the hospital at that time.
Not exactly. I went in on the 9th.
Okay.
And on the 9th, they started tests on the night of the 8th and said it wasn't the flu. It wasn't normal pneumonia. They didn't know what it was, but they were going to give me coronavirus tests. Anyway, now the real dramatic part of that was I had all these people working on me, trying to figure out why I couldn't breathe, and no one thought COVID. So they don't have any PPE. They're just working on me. And then 5 hours in, they finally do a lung x-ray, and they come back with, okay, you've got pneumonia in your lungs, and we don't know what kind it is, blah, blah, blah. An hour after that, the doctor who had been working on me, she comes in. Now, before this, she was all willy-nilly all over me, and I'm telling her, it's the worst flu in the world. You don't want this. You should be covered up. Okay? Oh, no, I see flu all the time. You'll be fine. I'll be fine, blah, blah, blah. Well, once they said they thought it was COVID, I didn't know, but this is what I got. She comes and opens up the glass doors that they had came and closed real quick. They hadn't been closed the whole time I was in the hospital. Now someone comes and closes them. She comes and sticks in, opens it up 2 inches and say, have you been to China? I said, no, why would I go to China? She goes, well, have you been to China recently? I haven't been to China since 2010, okay? So there's no way I got Wuhan coronavirus, all right? She's telling me that this is what it looks like, and they're going to test me for it, and she just had to get out the way. That woman left my room, grabbed her jacket. I never saw her again. The whole time I was in the hospital, whatever her name was, I mean, I have her name, but I never saw that woman again. After that, only nurses started seeing me. The doctor who was taking care of me was gone. Those nurses took a coronavirus test. They said it wasn't administered properly, so it was going to fail. They had to do another one. So they do another one. Those tests are excruciating. Have you had one?
No, I have not.
If you don't have to have one, you don't want one. If it tells you, oh, the test wasn't that bad, didn't get it administered properly. I'm going to tell you that because that stick is about this long, and they go so far up your nose, it's like they touch your brain. And they go so far into your throat, they gag you. If you didn't get gagged or they didn't touch your brain, they didn't administer it properly. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of video from from news outlets that shows the long Q-tip that goes up. I've heard of stories of people that I know that have either gone to get tested, that are waiting for their results, or that I've seen. So I have not experienced it. I've been very fortunate that I've not come down with any symptoms, or hopefully I've not. God be that I've not.
Yeah.
And let's talk a little bit about that. And you talk about some of the symptoms that you had. You had a muscle aches, you had fatigue, shortness of breath, all in your first cases, which COVID really started maybe January, February, but really no one paid attention to it until I think Italy started to get it. Europe started to get it. Then you had 5 cases, 10 cases. Ohio really didn't have anything, so they couldn't. But I think it was such a community spread at the time that no one knew what was going on.
Right.
And I think that was maybe a setback for a lot of people because they weren't expecting it. They didn't know much about they did not know much about the disease in general. And so your symptoms pretty much fit right now what the symptoms of COVID are that the CDC requires.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, I never lost my sense of taste or smell, but it did change. I already suffer from a condition called glycopharyngeal trauma, where I can't taste sugar, but my smell is fine. I had nerve damage in my mouth on my trigeminal nerve on this side of my face, and so it's a little numb, and it took that taste thing away. So when I got the real sensitive taste issue, I would never think it was part of COVID until later on when it was even worse, when everything tasted even more bad, than it had before. I will say this, the fever was like a light switch. It was not a fever that came and went away slowly. It came, was here for 3 or 4 hours, then went away instantly, and then came back instantly. And this rotated for days. I had a fever from the 3rd of March until the 17th. I came home from the hospital on the 20th of March. I hadn't had a fever for 3 days, so they saw that as the first, opportunity for me to leave the hospital.
Well, and the one thing about that, and let me read some of these symptoms so people understand, and this is coming from the CDC. I know some people may think that the CDC, they're this or that, but they're pretty much a reliable source of this disease. And let me
Absolutely.
read some of these. And so this is as of just recently: fever and chills, coughs, fatigue, shortness of breath or difficulty breathing, muscle aches, headaches, loss of taste or smell, sore throat, congestion or runny nose, vomiting or nausea. And that's just, and you had probably majority of those to start.
They have diarrhea. They have some kind of intestinal, it feels like intestinal flu. They have a rash that goes around, and yellowing fingernails or toenails, all kinds of things. Now, it's the last I looked, we stopped counting at 50 different symptoms because basically they were saying everything was an underlying issue of coronavirus. So I just stopped counting the symptoms after that. I didn't have all of those. My worst symptom was the body aches, the fever, the shortness of breath, and the fatigue, which I still suffer from the fatigue. The shortness of breath, not so much, because I do a lot of cardio. But when I push heavy, like working, cutting down trees, that cardio don't mean absolutely anything. And carrying that chainsaw around was ridiculous. And it's the third time I tried to do it since I've been home from the hospital. I'm about 10 minutes in. I used to cut a tree for an hour. Now I'm about 10 minutes in, and I'm on a knee or laying down on my back trying to catch my breath, telling my son not to dial 911.
Yeah, I totally get that.
I'll be all right.
Let me ask you this. You seem like a pretty healthy guy before all this happened.
Absolutely.
Did you work out a lot?
Every day.
So you worked out a lot. You look like you're in great health. So tell someone that is almost in the same place, same health, perfectly, no side effects to anything, doesn't have any pre-existing conditions. Tell someone that thinks that, oh, I can't get it, or I'm healthy. So give that, if they're watching, tell them what you want to say to them.
Well, I tell you what, before COVID, I had gone to the gym, Planet Fitness, every day and run on elliptical from a half an hour to an hour and lift a few minutes of weights, and then I'll alternate days. Sometimes I lift every other day. I can bench press 325. I can run 5 miles without stopping. Okay. I keep the elliptical up to 5 or 6 miles an hour and go for an hour. An elliptical is not a really tough machine to do, but that is a lot of cardio. Okay. My heart rate at rest was anywhere from 41 to 47 beats per minute, which is really, really good, especially for somebody 55 years old. So my doctors were telling me before this, I was in tip-top shape because I was trying to get my knee fixed so I could run a marathon on this I had a torn meniscus. So I know I want to get slimmer because I'm already a big guy, but I couldn't get slim without doing the running. And I couldn't run on this knee, so I had to go and have knee surgery. That's when they found out I had the heart condition, which kept me from having the knee surgery, which kept me from having cardiac arrest when I was going through COVID. That crazy heart that I couldn't stand in January saved my life. And I'll tell you this, about 2 weeks before COVID, I was on Facebook. I sent a post out telling everybody, get your mask now, because I buy masks for the Body Shop all the time, and they don't have masks because they said people are buying up all these masks to get ready for the coronavirus. At this point, there were no cases in Ohio. And 2 weeks later, I'm the 5th case in Ohio. So I was like 80th in the country. And the real killer on all of that is that almost everybody around me died. Everybody went on a ventilator. And at the time, 80% of the people going on a ventilator were passing away. So that's why I chose not to have a ventilator. That may have saved my life too, because I told them, my famous saying is I'm going to die on my feet instead of live on my knees. So I wasn't going to have them put me in a coma and then my family not be able to see me when I die and me not be able to see them. I wanted to die with my family standing there, even though, COVID is a very lonely process because they won't let anyone come near you. So these people, this 135,000 people that have died, very few of them have had an opportunity to say goodbye to their family members unless they did it like I'm talking to you through social media of some type. Otherwise, people, I've seen people who made the choice, I'm going to be in that room with my relative when they die, and that person has gotten sick, and in some cases that person has died, but those are choices that people make. And for a lot of older couples, I understand that, but for a lot of these younger kids that are getting it, they're being taken away from their parents. Some of them are dying. These kids think they're impervious. These guys I see at the gym, I go to the gym every day now. I see guys at the gym, hey, good to see you. I don't know how you caught that. I see you here every day. You're in tip-top shape. I'm not going to get it. I'm in better shape than you are. And I look at them and say, okay, keep thinking that. This gets the people who think they're impervious because they don't protect themselves because they think they're too healthy to get it. Protect yourself. You're not too healthy to get this. This virus is like a joker. When it finds out you think you can't get it, it gets you and then reminds you that you are not God, that you don't make the choices in your own fate, that things around us tend to dictate our fate sometime. And coronavirus is dictating a lot of people's fate right now.
Well, and that brings up a great point is you were fifth in Ohio, pretty much one of the first. And 80th, which is wow, that's hard to deal with. Like, you're one of the very first. So we didn't know much about this disease. So let's take a quick look at the world. So this is the world. 12 million, almost 13 million cases confirmed. Okay. I mean, you kind of look at this and you kind of say, like, wow, what is really going on? U.S. has 3.3 million cases as the top. Okay. Deaths are over they're reaching 200,000, but we're not there. We don't want to be there. We never want to be there.
We are going to get there.
And I feel that's and here are some of this is a map. All this information is from Johns Hopkins Hospital Medicine. They're the first one reliable, and you can tell everything in the red in the South is really going right now, which is a shame.
Yeah, it is.
So this is just for people to understand how bad it really is. This is no hoax. So Johns Hopkins University, that's where this website's coming from. So if anyone wants to take a look, they're more than welcome to do that. I thought that was something that needed to be said about this. There was a story out of Texas where a 30-year-old said, "This is a hoax. Oh, I'm going to a COVID party," and passed away. And
I saw that.
And how can you think that? I don't understand that, where people are getting sick.
Yeah, you gotta excuse me. I when I see those numbers, I mean, like I talk about it all the time, but not in this setting, you know. And being fifth in the state, you know, one of the first in the country, and then you see all of these numbers. I'm not talking about just the death, just the sickness on top of all that. Within 3 days of me having this, there was 110 people that were sick. And I'm trying to keep track of just the 5 guys in Ohio to see that we're in this together. We're going to make it together. Well, you know, try to find the first 10 guys in Ohio that got it. You know how many you can find?
Tell me.
Just me. Just me.
And actually, I just got I'll post it in a statement from Rick is saying, "Thank you for sharing your story." So I think that's really good to understand that you're sharing your story for people out there that should be taking this very seriously. Yes, we want to get on with our lives. We want to be normal, but we also have to be cautious. We also have to be common sense. Would you agree with that statement?
Again, Anthony, we'll never be normal again. Understand this. After you go through the physical initial attack of COVID, then you have all the residual effects that they say could last for months, if not years, or if not be permanent. Okay? And I keep fighting it every day to say I'm not going to have permanent damage. I'm not going to have permanent damage. But my lungs, my kidneys, my liver, my heart, all these things they say are still affected. And I feel it from time to time when I try to be the old me. Okay? It's just really, really tough. And I don't want to be messed up for the rest of my life. You know, another thing people don't understand, the psychological effects. I went through the survivor's remorse. I've done a lot of stuff in my lifetime. I'm not the nicest guy in the world. And I think, why did I deserve to live? You know, why am I still here when I know 4 other guys I got a chance to meet and they're gone. They were all great people. It really gets to you. The first 5 nights out of the hospital, nightmares, night terrors of dying and people dying around me and me causing people to die. I think the biggest blessing I got out of this whole thing is that I didn't get anyone sick, which is almost impossible when you think about the fact that I'm all over town. Every day I see 40 to 50 people, Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards, Sam's Club, several different restaurants, Taco Bell I'm here every morning. I mean, no one else got sick. When the CDC calls and says, "Hey, we need to know who you saw so we can trace this back and see who you exposed. I didn't see anybody for 10 days. So I was at home doing Kevin Harris for 6 days before I got sick. I didn't see anybody. They didn't believe that. And fortunately, a month later, no one that knew me or was around me was sick. And I just prayed to God that when it did hit here, that it started somewhere other than me. And I hate to put that on somebody else, but it obviously was somebody else because it wasn't me. And you see it's all over Ohio now. You talk about where did I get it? The only place I went to in 6 days prior to that, me going to the Cleveland Clinic, was the Cleveland Clinic. And that appointment for my knee had been canceled. So I went to the Cleveland Clinic for 15 minutes, arguing and complaining. I still want you to look at my knee. You made me drive all the way up here. I got out of bed for this. Otherwise, I wouldn't have got out of bed because I was maxing and relaxing. I did this. You need to do your job. They said no and sent me home. There was a couple in the elevator with me, and I can't say their names, but eventually I was able to track them down because they died of coronavirus. Husband and wife. Okay?
It's sad.
Sick. I knew they were sick. I've told the story a million times. I thought they were arguing because they just looked really bad, like two people that just had a knockdown, drag-out fight. And I spoke to them, and they were like, kind of laughing about it, how she wasn't feeling well, and she was there to be checked, but he was sick too. And I was like, well, okay, good. I'm glad you weren't fighting on the elevator. Who want to walk into the middle of a husband and wife fighting on the elevator? Little did I know, I'd rather walk in on a fight than walked in on coronavirus.
I don't want to be in the middle of a fight. My wife, happy happy life. Perfectly fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah, I learn from wise people. So now you're out of the hospital. You're getting better, but you still have symptoms. You still have it. So CDC and a variety of scientists and studies say we should be wearing masks. Do you agree with that assumption that the public should be wearing masks right now?
Absolutely beyond a shadow of a doubt. When they first started saying just cover your face with anything, everybody was running around looking for the N95 mask. Now the best you can find is KN95. They won't even sell N95s to the general public.
Correct.
And now they got everybody making scarves and put a t-shirt over your head, put a pair of panties on your head if you have to, whatever it takes. Okay, I get that because it stops the larger droplets. And I don't know if you ever watch yourself, but get in front of a light and watch yourself talk, and you'll see everybody spews a little bit of mist, a little bit of spit. And that's what they're trying to stop. That you can stop. But the regular germs, you're not going to stop that. And it's helping. Believe me, it's helping because we can prevent passing this on to people and getting it, not so much as getting it, but passing it on with the mask. And since this thing hides in asymptomatic people, they're going to spread it without knowing they're spread it. They're sick, but because they don't have any symptoms whatsoever, they just keep running around willy-nilly, passing around to everybody else. So if you look at the countries like Singapore, Vietnam, Thailand, I've done a lot of interviews all over the world, and they haven't been hit nowhere near as hard as we have. And people say, well, they don't have much population. No, they don't. But compare the percentage of their population. When you've got 300 people dead or 500 people dead in Singapore, which has about the same, I believe, the same population as New York City, what are you doing? And you got to give Mayor Cuomo or Governor Cuomo his props because he really did a job in New York City and New York State. Even our governor, DeWine, he's doing a great job with Ohio. But this virus doesn't care about you doing a great job. It waits for you to get relaxed. It waits for you to drop your guard. And then it comes back out and gets you again. It's not going anywhere till we get something legit to fight it with. We're fighting a war with sticks and spears, and somebody's coming at us with a machine gun. That's what we're doing.
And I think, and this brings up a good point, is let me share this. This is from Florida Atlantic University, and it shows how far just a cough can go. If people can see that, these are just someone coughing. You're not going to, not even covered with your face. So this gives a perfectly good example and scientific information that here's an unprotected cough still in the air. It could go for 6, 12, 14 feet per this study.
Yeah, look at it, still lingering in the air.
Exactly. And I think this is a good example of not wearing a mask, coughing without covering your face. Now, you put it in, it's only, I think it was only 3 to 4 inches when you have an actual mask on.
Yeah.
And this show, if they speed it up 4 times, this is still in the air. And I think that's what really shows what can happen with this disease or this virus that's out there. And I think that just shows a great example of just what this thing can do. It's not a hoax. It's serious. It's not the Spanish flu, but it's becoming that.
This is our modern day Spanish flu. That's exactly what it is. We should not be in the position that we're in because we have a whole lot more resources to protect us, okay, than this. I don't know if you ever look at any things that the past presidents have said, but we've had Bush and Obama, talk about a pandemic is coming. They know a virus is going to come that we're going to have to fight, and we have to be prepared for it. And we were not prepared. How about the wishful thinking? On the 13th, the day after they were telling the public that I'm the guy with coronavirus, they shut the schools down. Schools are only going to be shut down a couple of weeks. Remember them saying that? Now they don't know when they're going to reopen them. And I don't know if you saw any of my posts, but I was telling people then, this is bad. There's no way they're going to reopen the schools anytime soon. Kids aren't going back to college. They're going to shut them down. They hadn't even shut the colleges down at that point in time. Now everything is shut down. I expected the whole country to get shut down within a month. And obviously you saw the way it went down. That didn't happen. Our federal government is not trying to shut the country down. The states shut down one by one. And then because of economic pressure and civil unrest, if you call it that, they started opening back up too soon. And now we're going to feel the repercussions of that. More than once I posted on my Facebook page, the Coronavirus Warriors, that we were going to have 150,000 deaths by August. I don't want that to happen, but look where we are. And because of the reopening, another thing they're not doing, they're not telling us all the time frames. I'm sure you're aware now that the cases that they're reporting are on a 2-week lag.
Correct. Or something that they're just catching up.
That's right. So they're saying today we had 9,000 cases in Florida. That was 2 weeks ago. That's the 2 week ago number. Mm-hmm. So, the other day it was 15,000. That was 2 weeks ago. Not to mention that the reporting is a week behind. So they're getting their information 2 weeks late that they're giving to us, and the actual symptoms themselves are a week to 2 weeks from actually happening. So what we're seeing now was a month ago.
And I think that's the problem. And I think that's a problem too, because you're going to say, okay, we have 6,000 cases today. And I can tell you from who I talk to, those numbers are probably as best as they're going to get them.
True.
And from what they put in and their daily stuff. And I know, talking with several people from the state, is they're doing the best they can with what they have. And I just showed the video of different types of masks from Florida Atlantic University. They showed from a stitched mask to an N95 to just a cloth. A mask does help, and it does work.
Absolutely.
And the CDC, we can tell you it's not perfect. It's not perfect, but it helps from spreading the virus to others. Wearing a cloth mask covering can help protect people around you, including your parents, elderly, higher risk of serious injury, illness. And I think that's what people don't understand. And there's some people making comments that they're not wearing a mask. I respect that, but please don't come around me. I'll be wearing a mask. I'll stay socially distanced. I respect what you want to do. That's totally fine. But I think at the end of the day is, like, I go visit my parents. My parents are elderly. My wife, we're both very healthy, young. But at the same time is I may pick it up as an asymptomatic and not get it with no symptoms, but take it to my parents, which I don't even want to think about that.
Absolutely.
Because they're elderly. So I think in all respect to everyone, wear a mask. And if you need to find one, I'll be happy to help you find one. I got plenty of them. I'll send you one. I mean, I won't send you one because I don't have that many.
Well, we have a ton of them. We pass them out all the time.
But I think that gives. So let me ask you this: was there when you were going through this process, was there any medications or treatments that helped you? I know that there's no cure, there's no vaccine right now. I know they're pushing the best they can, but was there anything that helped you? I know you weren't on a ventilator. So what helped you get through this?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give all the glory to God, because my doctors came in after they saw it was COVID and told me there was nothing they could do, that I was going to basically die. And I'm a tough guy, so I wanted the tough answers. I asked the tough questions, and they said, yeah, we have nothing we can do for you. A few hours later, a infectious disease doctor came in, and she said, I've got some things they've been trying over in Europe. We'd like to try them on you. And my exact words were, I don't care if you get a black cat and have him piss on my forehead. If you think it's going to help, you go and do it, And she did everything she could, and nothing was working. And it came down to my body, and she started giving me, that was hydroxychloroquine. Remember when Trump was pushing hydroxychloroquine?
Correct.
Those headaches are tremendous. And the after effects of that stuff, your eyeballs swell. They feel like your eyeball got so much pressure on them, they're going to explode. That's one of the side effects of that hydroxychloroquine. Okay, and the Zithromax, they call it the Z-Pack. Okay, everybody sounded like it was going to be the cat's meow. Well, it was not. Okay, it was horrible. They basically, my liver function was bad, my kidney function were bad, and they knew this hydroxychloroquine was affecting my body. So I would say the only thing that really helped me was Tylenol. They had told me that if I kept that pneumonia between 7 and 9 days, I would probably die without a ventilator. They didn't diagnose me till the 9th day. So when they told me if you had COVID, you'd be dead by now, I didn't have COVID. Until 2 days later when they said, oh, wow, your test came back positive, you do have COVID. And I said, wait a minute, I should be dead, And the weirdest thing, your body has to last long enough to build the antibodies in order to fight it. That's the problem. Some people aren't healthy enough to outlast the coronavirus. That's all you got to do. If you outlast it, your body will start fighting it, you'll get the antibodies, and you will get better. But the rest of your body has to be in good enough shape to get you there. Or, the miracle of God. I've seen guys now be on a ventilator 2 months, been on a ventilator 16 days and 6 days and die. It's each individual is affected differently. This virus is a tricky monster.
Yeah, and I can see that. Like you said, COVID's going to affect you differently than it may affect someone else.
Right.
And you had, if I'm correct, you had a pre-existing condition with the heart, but it actually helped you.
That would kill me, but it did not.
But it helped you. It helped you say, wait a minute. It kind of made a trigger. God's like, hey, we need to trigger this to make sure you're healthy, and I'm going to get you through this. Right.
I mean, it's the craziest thing in the world.
Well, I appreciate, Kevin, you taking your time out of this and really telling us what happened. And people may not understand because they may have not have had it. They may have talked, oh, I'm asymptomatic, nothing helped. But there are people on the front lines dealing with this every day. And so let me ask you this. How many days was it the worst? How long did that, was it just like 14 days or was it longer? Because there are some people that I'm actually skeptic to say, oh, let me take your temperature. Well, just because you don't have a temperature doesn't mean you have it, or you may be asymptomatic.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, that Monday, all I had, was a tickle in my throat and a cough that night. Tuesday morning, I got the flu. By Wednesday, I was bedridden because I had laid down 24 hours and couldn't get up. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's 6 days that it was super bad. And I'm in the hospital on Sunday. Monday, 7, 8, 9, 10 days. Then they tell me it's coronavirus. It took 4 more days. So I'd say 14 days before I saw the turnaround and started to get to the point where I could breathe. But I still couldn't walk. You know, I actually could not. I could walk around the room a couple of minutes. But I came home on the 20th, and the hospital had nurses that were supposed to come and take care of me. I refused them because I didn't want anybody to get sick. I didn't know that it was their job to put their lives on the line and be at risk to take care of me. So I thought I could take care of myself. Let me tell you what. I walked up and down the stairs when I got the energy that Sunday. I slept on the floor. When I came from the hospital Friday, I slept on the floor until Sunday because I couldn't get upstairs. Sunday, I had enough energy to get upstairs and get in my bed. When I started walking up and down the stairs Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I got muscle aches in my legs and in my butt. I've never had a cramp in my butt. You ever get a Charlie horse in your leg?
Yeah, I've had plenty of those.
Well, hope to God you never get one in your butt. It hurt so bad. I laid down at 8 o'clock that night, and I didn't get up until 7 o'clock a day and a half later. I could not. Hey, luckily I didn't pee on myself, poop on myself. I didn't eat. I wouldn't let no one in the house. I was told don't let anybody in the house for 14 days.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody in the house until we release you. So I got the paperwork, which was on my website, showing how they said I had to test negative twice.
Correct.
I could be released. I've never had a negative test. All my tests come back positive. And when I asked for a seventh test, because think about this, I had 2 failed tests on the night I got in the hospital. I had a test Monday morning that came back 4 days later, positive. I had a test that Saturday that they said, we took it too soon. The CDC told the hospital was trying to get rid of me. They wanted me to test positive so they could get rid of me and all my news media mess. But the CDC said, nope, we're not doing that test because it was too soon. So they waited until the following Thursday, tested me, and then tested me on Friday and threw me out of the hospital. Physically threw me out of the hospital after they told me I wouldn't leave till the following Monday. They actually told the news media, my attorney, my family, everybody, he's leaving on Monday. And the minute they hung up that phone, 15 minutes later, they were throwing me out of the hospital because they didn't want the media attention. At that point, I was the only case of COVID in the hospital.
Right.
Floor dedicated to COVID patients because they were being prepared, but they were not prepared. We had 4 staff members that came in my room without PPE because they said it's not coronavirus, doesn't look like it, so we're just going to check you out and blah, blah, blah. Those 4 people, 2 of them got sick. Okay, 1 of them got family members sick. So the epicenter of the coronavirus epidemic in Trumbull County started at St. Joe's Hospital, which is a fact if you look at the cases, because they want to come around me before they knew I actually had the virus, because they didn't believe me when I said, it's got to be, because I've never felt the flu and I've never had pneumonia. This is ridiculous. No, you don't have COVID. It's some kind of pneumonia. We're going to get you taken care of, give you some antibiotics, and send you home. 4 days later, it's COVID.
Well, we appreciate what everyone does at the doctors and nurses that take care of all our coronaviruses, our essential workers, from everyone that was out there, even financial services, bankers, grocery workers. We all salute you. We all salute. I'll be the very first honest. I salute everyone that works in a hospital. I don't care if you're the guy that cleans up the room, to the nurses, to the doctors, to the administration. That's just me. And it is what it is. And I don't think people were probably prepared for what was going on.
No, they weren't. They weren't prepared. But those nurses were fantastic. I'm telling you, that's one thing I will give credit to. Not one of my nurses ever came in my room without the proper PPE or PPE, because they didn't know what was going on and they needed to protect themselves and protect other patients. My nurses were fantastic. It was these willy-nilly people that were coming and going, a dietitian, just a secretary or the front desk girl who wanted to come and turn my IV off because it was making too much noise and they could hear it in the hallway. Okay, well, tell a nurse to come and do what they're supposed to do. You don't just walk in my room and.
Well, and I think everyone was trying to do the best they can with what they knew what was going on.
I understand that. Sometimes the best ain't good enough. You just have to man up and take it on the chin. When you've done your best and your best ain't good enough, just step forward and say, "Hey, I screwed up. I have to do it. You have to do it." But now I've met a couple people that left the hospital. Things have really, really changed. They're on a whole different program now, and I commend them. If nothing else, I made mistakes, and I'm going to continue to make mistakes. And I just hope that they don't continue to make mistakes, because there's a lot of people out there. You see people in the video talking about what they did at this hospital, what they did at that hospital. Well, you got to see this generation hasn't seen anything like this until now. They'll be prepared for the next round, I'm sure. Whether they'll be prepared for the next round of coronavirus or not, I don't know, because they're telling us we're still in the first wave, but we got a second wave to look forward to in 4 months.
Well, I think if we don't do something fast, we're going to be at that second wave, still in the first wave.
Exactly.
And Kevin, I appreciate you taking the time, telling us your story. One last question I have for you: are you up for any Q&A? I have some people that have some questions about you, if that's okay with you.
My time is your time. I missed you last week and really wanted to be there. I'm here now. Get all you can, brother.
So last statement. What advice can you give right now to anyone watching?
Wash your hands. I've been touching my face and doing all that. Yep, because I want a clock. Every hour, I wash my hands. I don't complain about it. I don't tell anybody about it. But every hour, I get somewhere and wash my hands. I sanitize my hands. I got rough, dry, working man's hands anyway. We can do this. Wash your hands. Wear a mask. If nothing else, wear the mask for your parents, for your children, for your friends. Because you may not believe that it's happening until it happens to somebody that's close to you. And I stopped counting. We had 147 people that have called me through Facebook, Messenger, text messages. My dad is sick. My sister's sick. I'm sick. What can we do? And I tell them all the same thing. To date, not one of those people has passed away. Every single one. I had a guy tell me, I'm not getting out of bed. I can't do it. I said, I'll come over there and help you. Where do you live? I will come and help you get out of bed. Because if they're not letting you in the hospital and you get that pneumonia, that's scary. That ventilator is a scary prospect. You know that 70% of the people get on a ventilator are dying now. It was 80% when I was in the hospital. Now it's 70%. They're not telling you that number, but that's what's happening. So we have to not get on that ventilator if we can make it without it. The third thing is social distancing. I've been calling it physical distancing all day long, because you can socialize all you want on Facebook, YouTube. Look at us. We can talk all day doing this. We can socialize all we want. So stay physically distant from the people around you. And if you have to be around somebody, cover your face with something. I don't care if you cover it with a hat. Cover your face to stop those moisture droplets from being spread into the air. You ain't going to stop a whole lot of germs with these different covers unless you wear that N95 mask. But all those other coverings will help with the majority of those droplets. And we gotta do it, man. Those three things.
And just to add up, just to add up, just to add up what the governor just announced, a little over 66,000 cases that have been confirmed, and over 3,000 deaths just in the state of Ohio. So that's just some numbers to look at. So we'll get to a couple questions, and then we should be good. This first question is going to pop on your screen, Kevin. This one is from Stacy. Do you still have symptoms, and if so, what are they?
Yes, Stacy, I still have symptoms, and I'm also psychologically on tilt, because every time I sneeze or cough or get a tickle in my throat, it scares me that the virus is back. So that psychological thing is the biggest part of it. I will say the shortness of breath when I work out, I get a little bit of that. Now, when I do heavy work, I get a lot of shortness of breath. Sometimes I can't catch my breath. I have to stop what I'm doing and take a break. I have headaches. Some of them are really, really bad. They're not like migraines. I've heard people describe migraines. I don't get blurry vision and all that, but I get what feels like a swelling in my forehead and a pinch on the side of my head that I never had before. And the pinch is more of thing that lasts 15 or 20 seconds, like something is knocking on the side of my head. And outside of that, not anything else. Everything else is fine. No body aches, no muscle aches. My toenails don't hurt anymore, thank God.
You don't have a cramp in your back.
No cramps. From not working my body, remember, I didn't walk for a month. So I do get muscle spasms here and there from that. But, I've been lifting weights in the gym again and running my elliptical. So my body's slowly getting back together. It takes a lot longer to get it back than it does to lose it.
Oh, tell me about it. I was working at home in March through just in the house. So it's like I get antsy. So I need to walk back and forth, just get the blood moving. So Stacy, Thank you for that question. I have another question from Nick. Nick says, would you recommend that they close down the state to help flatten the curve?
Wow, Nick, that's a tough question because I'm also a business owner and, an independent contractor myself. And I do a lot of things that consist of me having to deal with the general public. And I know there are a lot of people when they see me recognize me. Of course, it's not hard to recognize when I walk around with a shirt on.
No, it's not. No, it's not. I mean, it isn't.
Yeah, so people tend to shy away, which I'm good. I'm as much as I seem to be a people person, I like my privacy. It's like living two lives. I have a really public life, and then I have a very private life, and I don't get to enjoy that too much. I will say that I'd rather them shut the state down than watch more and more people die. The killer is you don't know how many people are going to die if you don't shut it down. So if they shut it down and only 20 more people die, they'll say that was because we shut it down. And people say, well, that many people weren't going to die anyway. Maybe it would have been 25. Well, would you want those other 5 people to be 5 people you knew? I'm good with my hands and I have a good career. I've lived a good life. I'm one of those people, I don't see it hard for me to pick things back up and make money again. But I'm watching restaurants go out of business. I'm watching other small businesses go out of business. I'm watching people lose their jobs and about to lose their houses, and people can't pay rent, can't pay bills, can't buy their kids school clothes, and everybody's trying to figure out whether kids are going back to school anyway. I get all that. But at the end of the day, look back on anybody that you've lost to death of any kind. Would you trade everything you have to bring your mother back? I would. My mother and father are both gone. Thank God it wasn't COVID. But I would give everything I have, except a pair of drawers, because you can't walk around here naked. They lock you up for that. But honestly, I would give everything I have to bring my mom back or bring my dad back, or my cousin Vanessa. She died at 13. Let's bring her back. Well, we have an opportunity to look out for the people that we know are still alive. And we don't know if they're going to be alive a year from now because of this virus. So we should do everything we can to give them the best odds of surviving. And right now, the best thing we could do is shut this economy down. And of course, Anthony, you're going to get people say, well, what about suicides are up? And what about homicides are up? I get it. You're going to lose a lot of people no matter which way you do this. But we can make a choice how we're going to lose ours. I don't want to lose none of mine to COVID. So I tell all of mine to wear masks. We don't hug and kiss anymore. We used to hug and kiss each other all the time, my family. Now we just kind of look at each other and laugh and, say we'll get it in when we can. We've got to shut this down if we're going to slow this down. Otherwise, think about it. The only people who are going to be left are the people that are asymptomatic or the people who have the antibodies. We're going to kill everybody else because there's only 2 types of people in the world right now, Anthony. Those that have gotten the virus and those that are going to get the virus. Okay? You're going to get it. Whether you're asymptomatic or not, you're going to feel the repercussions of coronavirus, COVID-19 in your life. It's happening. It's happening all around us. Accept it and just keep on going. If you're one of those people that say, well, if I get sick, I just get sick, it's my time to go. Okay, then God must have chose 135,000 people from the United States to disappear in the last 4 months, because that's what exactly happened. That would not have necessarily died had it not been for COVID.
And I don't like that statement. Like just someone saying that or thinking.
Yeah, I know. I don't like it either.
I get it. That's not how it works.
No.
Because you could give it to someone you love. You can give it to someone that you care about. And it just, I I agree with you on that. It's just some people, that's just how some people are. I respect that. I'm going to stay my distance away and go. And this is a great question that we talked a little bit about earlier about people going to COVID parties. Okay. So here's the question. What would you tell college students who plan to keep partying like there is no pandemic? That's a great question.
I would tell them to stop and take a break. Pick up the phone and call your friends and ask them if they know anybody that's been sick. Then find that person that's been sick and talk to them. Find that person that's lost a loved one and talk to them. Because all those college kids that are having a great time, sooner or later, someone they know is going to die of COVID. Sooner or later. Here's a question for you, and I know this might seem like it's totally off the subject, but when you think about the prison system, you know anybody in prison?
I can't answer it because no one comes to my mind.
You know anybody that's been to prison?
Yes.
That's your COVID answer right there. There are 2.3 million people in the prison system right now. Okay? The federal prison system. How many people do you say have been affected with COVID? 3 million?
A little over 3 million, and if my numbers are correct.
So besides me, how many people do you know have had COVID? You know some people that have had COVID.
And I know friends that have had people pass away because of COVID.
You're dealing with the same numbers as the prison system. People don't want to think about going to prison or don't want to think about somebody having been in prison. But we all either know someone or know someone that has someone that's in prison. That's the same thing that's happening with COVID. And that's just way too much. Way too much. You know, the prison system has 25% of the people in the world are in the United States prison system, but we only have 5% of the population. We're doing the same thing with COVID. Two things that we have decided we're going to ignore because they don't affect us directly until it does. Just like the prison system has started to affect everybody, COVID is affecting everybody. And if we don't do something about it, both of those systems have overwhelmed the systems that run them. The prison system is overrun and the hospital system is being overrun. Okay, two total disasters that our government has to work with. It is bad enough to have one epidemic, and then have a pandemic on top of that.
Yeah, and I think you got a great point. This virus will affect someone you know somehow, some way by the time it's done. If it doesn't, God bless you.
Absolutely. God did bless you. If it doesn't, he already blessed you.
Yeah, and we're very fortunate. So, Kevin, those are some great questions that we got from some people. Kevin, thank you for taking your time out of your day to give us this great information. I really appreciate it. Everyone, thank you for joining us for another episode of Spanning the Needs. Stay tuned. Tomorrow night we'll be with Oh Wow and the Science Guy Kids Edition. Be safe and God bless.
Thank you for having me.